All right, we are live.
Yeah.
In 5, 4, 3. Oh, that's 2.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Stumblin Forward Season 2. We
Guys,
made
it's
it.
Season 2. That's crazy.
We made it to Season 2.
It's so much better when we're recording in person together.
Even if it's in a closet.
We are recording in a closet. Better for sound. That's what I hear.
Yeah.
So,
And I also just moved, so all the other rooms are empty. So this is what we're working with.
And that's actually a good leeway into the fact that we are recapping from last season. If you are, listening in, 2018 is when we actually recorded our first 2 episodes together.
Yeah.
And now it's 2020, the year of crazy.
A lot has changed.
A lot. So we are actually going to just kind of do a quick recap of how we're doing.
Yeah. Just check in with you guys and see how we're stumbling forward.
Dude, we're really stumbling forward.
Yeah, like, for sure. We're in a closet, so there you go.
So I always start with you, Monica.
Okay.
We don't really have a plan either, but we're kind of just like, hey, let's talk and hang out.
Let's chat.
In a closet. So, yeah. Ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sweet. All right. So, Monica Ortega, we found out earlier in season 1 that you are from Michigan. Mm-hmm. And you moved from Nashville to LA. And now, Colorado.
Yeah, just south of Denver now.
Awesome.
And still doing the travel show, so that's still kicking along. Got almost 100 episodes now, which is super exciting.
Yeah.
And actually with 2020 and all the travel being closed, we finally are getting back into filming that next week, which is super exciting.
Yeah.
So,
Do you want to do like a quick recap of like
the past 2 years of my life?
The past 2 years?
So if you guys missed the first episode, I host a travel show called Monica Goes, and it's all about going on adventures and pushing out of my comfort zone. And Kristin here is my producer, videographer, editor, all that good stuff. And yeah, it's been going since 2015. So almost 5 years now.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
What's new in the works?
Next we have Northern Idaho. We're going to be checking off a big bucket list thing for me, which is rock climbing. I'm so excited, and I'm going to cry and pee my pants all the way through it.
And I'll film it.
So yeah, that'll be good. But no, I think within the last year, it's kind of pivoted into speaking engagements and things like that. Actually, in 2 days, I'm speaking for a Hispanic Heritage Month event. But I've done a couple speaking engagements at the Women in Travel Summit.
Can I have a question? Yeah. In 2018, you didn't do any speaking, right?
No, I was hosting at Stagecoach and doing that sort of thing.
Right.
But in terms of speaking at conferences about the show, no.
When did that start?
Oh, when did that start?
2019
The first one was, yes. It was 2019 in January was the first one. And then I think I spoke at 4 events last year.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Very nice.
That's exciting. And then, of course, pandemic hit and kind of started looking at different things that I wanted to do and ended up writing a book.
In a week. She wrote it so quickly, which is actually really cool. I got a little sneak peek.
It's crazy because I always had it in the back of my mind that I wanted to write a book and I wanted to kind of use a lot of my story, but I wanted it to be bigger than that and more You Are a Badass and more self-help and give actual practical tips and stuff, but I didn't really know how to do all of that. And then the idea came to me.
Yeah.
But no, it's a book about pivoting just in career, in life. And I think in 2020, with everything that kind of happened, I kept hearing people refer to it as the year of the pivot. People were losing their traditional jobs and going more to online jobs. And it really kind of tied in with this podcast and what we want to do with this of really, just working our way through the trenches of life and career and all of those good things. So I'm very excited about that, and I'm in the process of pitching that. So.
Yeah. What happened? Why Colorado?
Oh, met a boy.
Oh, there's a boy.
No, I always liked Denver and thought about it, but it just wasn't the right time. And then in quarantine, who knew? I just needed to delete all dating apps and have a global pandemic to meet someone. But yeah, I met Steve, and he was doing stunts when it all happened and quarantine stopped and the film industry stopped. And we both kind of said, we don't really see that recovering very quickly, and it seemed like a good time to go. So he actually bought a business in Littleton, Colorado, and I was like, hey, if you pick a place in the mountains, I'll go. And so here I am. I moved here last week. She helped me move. So
it's a really nice place.
New beginnings.
It's beautiful. Stumbling into it. Okay. Well, that's awesome. Is there anything else? Like, I know that you're starting that also I know. Do you want to talk about it? The show for Colorado, kind of like a revamp.
Yeah. So I was kind of toying with the idea of doing different things with Monica Goes, and we really do specialize with working a lot of tourism boards, and it's U.S. travel. And I thought, well, because I'm moving to such an awesome place with outdoor adventure and breweries, and there's just so much going on in Denver and it's growing, what if I had a different show that kind of ties in with Monica Goes? And so I'm playing around with a couple different ideas for titles of that, but it would basically be like local hikes around Denver, breweries, restaurants, just different things that are going on. And it's a good way for me to kind of learn and explore myself. So hopefully that'll be coming up pretty soon. I'm just kind of still unpacking and getting settled, but that is an idea that I'm working on for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Is there anything else? I feel like kind of just, you're still working in Instacart, but you're doing so much.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely still in the trenches. And it's one of those things where, I'm not doing it full time yet, and that's always the goal. And there's months that it's like, oh, it's taking off and I'm good here and this is going to be a thing. And then there's a couple months where there's nothing and I'm Instacarting and debating going back to restaurants. So still in the middle of it, but I feel like as long as it's still tracking forward and as long as we're still getting hired for things, that it's going there. Yeah, it's going there.
It's that way.
And it is kind of crazy because when I left LA, obviously I'm not fully giving up the acting thing. If I have the opportunity to go back to do something, that's great.
Especially commercial work but
I'm definitely stepping away from that stuff. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't sure what that was going to look like. And literally within probably a week or two of deciding that we were going to move, I had the idea for the book. We booked Northern Idaho, and I was like, okay, everything in my life is saying that this is the right decision and that it's going the right way and that work isn't going to stop and I'm just going to suddenly be sitting around the house here. So yeah, I feel like there's a lot of opportunity here. Yeah. It's definitely a pivot, a stumble forward. We're just going to keep using this in everything. Pivoting and stumbling forward. But yeah, I feel like as long as my gut tells me that I'm on the right track, then I'm just going to keep moving forward and see what happens.
Yeah, that's all you can do.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So that's a wrap up of the past 2 years. How about you, Kristin? I feel like a lot's changed since the episode where we talked to you.
I don't even know where to start. I feel like it's hard for me to even pinpoint everything that's changed. So in the episode of 2018, I had just started a job with a wedding company. And prior to that episode, I had done an internship to start wedding videography because I've never done it before. I've only done videography for you. So I was really excited about the new opportunity to work all the time and professionally edit weddings, which was brand new for me because I was like, again, I've only done Monica Goes stuff, and it was very similar in the sense of it's a highlight film, and it's pretty, and it's 5 minutes, you know? So I was really excited to do that. And it was a year of learning. It was all of 2019. And it was a year of learning to work with new people that you might not always get along with, or people that you might not always see eye to eye. And to hold my ground as an artist, I guess, or a videographer in a sense. It was a lot of self-reflection on what I'm worth. And that was the hardest thing for me because, what is it? Imposter syndrome? I have it all the time.
Well, and we've kind of talked about this before of comparing it to when you're dating and you feel like if I leave this job, I'm never going to get another opportunity. It's this whole, I finally got somebody that said yes and likes me, so this is all I deserve. Mm-hmm. And having to take those moments to step back and be like, no, I know I'm worth more. Yeah. And
And I started with the whole, I'm reasonable. I was brand new with the wedding company. I just came out of an internship. They hired people that were a lot of like green people. He gave me the opportunity right away to edit, which was great. And I was getting paid to edit. But after a year, I was just like, all right, I need to ask for more, because I feel like I know what I'm doing and I see the value in it. So I did. Turned out, just wasn't for him. Wasn't for the company, and like I stepped back, and it was totally fine, because right next to it was just another company that was ready to hire, ready to have me edit, was going to pay me what I was asking. And that would be also like 2 companies that I'd be working for. So it worked out, but then 2020 hit. So,
which for weddings kind of puts a damper on things. We're in the bad industries of like travel and weddings, the 2 things that just like
we were just
ended.
like done.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, we're the kind of people, at least I think I see us as, we're going to keep pushing. We're going to keep pushing for things. We're going to be working on things. You with your book, me. Like, honestly, this podcast was a big, big step. And it was...
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for letting us talk.
And honestly, this was all her, too, because we had recorded those episodes and weren't really doing anything with it. And then when we were in quarantine, she was like, no, we're going to make this happen.
Yeah.
And you really did, like, put the action. And you were like, here's the schedule. This is what we're doing. We're interviewing people. And, like...
And for anybody who, like, did an interview, thank you.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was just, like, letting people talk. I'm like, we totally could do that. Yeah. And Zoom was a lifesaver. I mean, I know it's not obviously the best quality, but it's perfect for being in quarantine and being able to talk to people at the same time who were in different states. Because I was living in Chicago. She was in LA at the time. We had to figure it out. So we did.
Yeah.
And like, I was really, really happy that we did something like that, because it made me feel like I wasn't just wasting my time for 2 months.
Yeah. And it was super inspiring. I feel like listening to other people's stories and how they were dealing with stuff. And, you know, hopefully you guys like it. And if you do, 5 stars, thumbs up, all that stuff. Leave us a review. But it really did make a difference. Like, especially, I mean, I know, oh gosh, I don't remember which interview it was, but like everything had happened with the protest and everything was going on. And we talked beforehand about how we were all just like... low energy.
It was like, we were almost by like, should we just cancel today?
Yeah.
Not do it, because we were all in a mindset of what was happening.
Yeah.
You know?
And then we started recording and it was super inspiring. And by the end, all 3 of us were like, oh, I'm so glad we did it.
Yeah.
Like switch that mindset, change it up. And so it was good.
Also during quarantine, I was talking to a life coach, which was amazing, because it set the path of the podcast for me, and also set the path for Creative World Productions, which I brought up in 2018, didn't do anything with until 2020 during the pandemic. Like, I literally like
I feel like that happens though.
Just
That's
sat
pretty
there
normal.
And then I was like, why am I not, I redid my website, I redid my demo, I made sure that like I was actually reaching out to people, putting it on Facebook, I started an Instagram. I'm just really trying to push it forward, because Creative World Productions, in my eyes, which again, my life coach really helped me with. I know people don't really know, like, what does a life coach do? They help you set the goals that you already have and push you towards them. So when I was talking to him, I was like, I know I want this to happen. And I just kind of kept doing it each week, even though I wasn't getting paid, which was even harder, you know, working on something where you're not getting like, you know, any money. So I was working on that, and it's still a goal of mine. You know, it's still working forward. And also with the podcast, I wasn't even going to mention it to him when I started.
Oh, really?
I was like, oh, I'm not going to mention the podcast because it's stupid. And like, oh my God, like, you know, it's not stupid. But I was just like, oh, he's just going to think like a podcast. Okay. When I mentioned, he's like, why didn't you mention this like day one?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. I know why. It's because if I mention it, then like I have to hold myself accountable.
Yeah.
And I did. So I did the podcast. I'm revamping Creative World. I'm like working with Monica still. Thank God things are picking back up. You know, still living in Chicago. I was planning on taking acting classes again. 2020 didn't let that happen. I worked at Instacart when I was on doing quarantines because I'm like, I needed to do more. Still working at a bar. Not a big deal. But it's just feeling good. I just want it to like get there.
Well, and it will. And I think the most important thing that you did was honestly step away from having the boss and say, I know my worth and I'm going to do my own thing.
Yeah.
And being humble enough to like, okay, if doing this means I go back to bartending, and if doing this means I have to Instacart and not edit full time like I want to be doing, but working toward the end goal, which is owning your own thing.
Yeah.
I think that's huge. I think so many people want the security and they don't actually step back and reevaluate what their long-term goals are.
Because it is really tempting to just be like, well, I'm getting paid for what I was taught to do. Like, I should just be happy with what I have.
Yeah.
No, it's sometimes you just have to like think big and just go for the gold. And I know that even if I let that go back in 2019, the beginning of the year, pretty much, I know that things are coming. And yes, 2020 came, but I know that it's still gonna progress.
I mean, and I don't want to play down all of the horrible things that are happening in 2020.
Oh, it's
but
terrible. Yeah.
I also, I heard a good saying, and it was, this is not an apocalypse, it's an awakening.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it was such a time to reset. And like for me personally, I mean, I was working 60 to 80 hour weeks of cranking out these videos. I had hit a wall. I was not motivated anymore. I was not inspired. I mean, I still enjoyed doing the show, but it felt like work. And I was exhausted and I had no personal life and all of these things. And then 2020 hit. It's like it gave me a chance to step back, meet somebody, figure out balance, figure out what my big goals were, and kind of reset in a way that I don't think I would have given myself. And I think that that's happened to a lot of people.
Yeah. And like you said, don't want to play down 2020. It's been crazy. But in my mind, it did give me time because I was working 2 jobs and I was pushing just to make sure that I had that money. That wasn't what I was actually like wanting to do, like edit and film. And getting ready for summertime, which I would have been doing weddings. But with 2020, like the pandemic and being quarantined, it did give me like, I know I don't want to like bartend the rest of my life. Like I know that I can make money elsewhere and have the free time to actually work on the things I want to work on. It definitely was such an awakening is right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so where are you, like, what are your goals now? We're kind of coming out of it. I mean, we're obviously still in it, but like,
if it wasn't
things
like,
are reopening,
So things are reopening. Things are opening back up, like, even with weather and stuff like that. But goals, I would like us to really push for more tourism boards for the upcoming, like, year.
Yep.
I want to book something like a wedding or an event where I'm getting paid for Creative World Productions. Again, videography, everybody has a talent. That's what I do. I feel like it's telling someone that you're talented in your life and you should share that.
Yeah. And I think so much of like what we miss, I've said this before, that like I was pushing for acting, I was pushing for singing, but I was getting hired as a host. And when you step back and you go, okay, where am I making the money? And do I enjoy that? And it's like, wait a second, maybe I should be doing this. And then the second I did, it kind of took off. And I feel like it was the same thing for you. Like once you went, I'm a videographer and I'm a really good editor, all of a sudden, Creative World Productions happens. All of a sudden, weddings happen. And like, that's kind of...
You find the things. You find the things that will mesh with like what you love. And, it's talked about in You Are a Badass. And that's pretty much where like it was for me, where you're like, where do you lose time? We talked about this in 2018. You lose time. I lose time in editing. I love it. I always have. I loved it when I just did it, like just to, learn about it in college. And I was like, oh, this might not be a thing. It was a thing. I just was like, I was telling myself, I'm an actress. Hold on. I'm going to go do that first. Editing is where it's at.
Which, I think it's good to try to pursue those passions. But then at some point, like if things aren't happening in one direction, it's good to step back and ask yourself what is coming naturally And then if you enjoy that, if you don't. But like if you enjoy that, figuring out how to make that your career.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of what we've both done in the past 2 years, but last year, really.
Yeah, last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was really a big thing and a lot of like changes that happened, but good stuff, you know? And yeah, I think that we're in a good place.
Yeah.
In a really good place.
In a closet.
In a closet. I feel like this is a really good place. But I do think that 2020, you know, it's a good challenge.
It is a good challenge. And I think sometimes these things happen for us. We always think they happen to us, but I think sometimes they happen for us. And, you know, I mean, I think the first 2 months I just hung out in my PJs and day drank and did puzzles. And then, you know, I got kind of sick of it. And I was like, okay,
2 weeks, right? Did you say 2 months?
Oh, I said like 2 months.
Oh, I was thinking like 2 weeks. Monica.
It was a dark
I'm
year.
kidding.
No, it was actually good too because, like I said, I hadn't taken a break like that in a long time. I made like Tiger King videos and just started doing
hilarious.
like whatever I felt like, which was the first time I had time for that.
But I thought that was working. It was like
It was working.
She was doing the Tiger King videos, and she was also doing tourism in her home, which was great.
I mean, travel videos around the apartment.
Travel videos around the apartment, which that's the creative outlet. So I don't think, even if you were thinking you were sitting around, I don't think she was. I don't think she was.
Well, I think it took me out of my calendar and out of my to-do list and out of the things I thought I should be doing, which is the worst word ever.
Yeah, don't shit on yourself.
Don't shit on yourself. Don't shit your life away.
Stop shitting. Wait, no, you should. It's every day. It's really natural. Oh God.
Anyway, yeah, but I think it threw me off, and then I went, okay, let's just have fun for a while. And then I even gave myself a break from that because I felt like I was creating videos because I still felt like I needed to be putting out content. And then I realized I don't need to put out content for the sake of it, and I can take a break. And I took 2 months of no videos on my page, which is crazy because I've released an episode every 2 weeks for the past 5 years, and my stats went up. I got more followers. Like it was weird. Like nothing changed. And I had a neighbor tell me, he was like, what would happen if you stopped? How would you feel? And I said, I would feel so relieved. Yeah. And he was like, so stop and then see what happens. And in that space, it was like the first week I was like, I hate stopping. I feel like I'm failing. And then I came up with the idea for the book. And then I came up with the idea for the new Denver show. And all of these creative things started sparking because I gave myself space.
Yeah.
And
to actually just relax into the new chapter.
I started hiking every day and meditating and really like thinking about what I wanted out of life and figuring out how to have balance of adding a new person in my life, which is tough for me because I'm a workaholic. And that's still going to be interesting trying to figure out the balance of it. But yeah, I feel like in quarantine I got a good dose of making goals and still.
In quarantine with me, like I had 2 weeks where I was like, this will be over in a week. Like
I think
everybody did. Everybody was thinking like, this will probably be done. And so I just kind of chilled and was trying to continue to work, but I cleaned a lot. Because it's like, obviously, I cooked a lot. I was like, I just need to do something. Going to the grocery store was like a freaking field trip to me. I was like, this is amazing.
It's interesting because we're workaholics. So when we can't work, it was like, what do we do?
So once I realized that it was going to be longer than that, that's when I was like, you can't just sit here. I'm like, kick it in high gear. You need to do something, work on something, figure it out. Because, again, we just continue. I have to work. Like, usually 12-hour days is like a general.
Yeah. But it was also, so one thing that was interesting for me, because I still do some client work for social media and stuff, and so I had a couple clients, and I found a lot of people saying, again, like, I should feel this way, I should be working, and mentally they weren't okay. And I was having the conversation with a lot of different people that, like, it's okay to not be okay, and if you need to stop, stop.
Yeah.
And again, it took me a while to take my own advice, but like I made a video at the beginning, which is so ironic, called Single in Quarantine, that did very well because people could relate. And, you know, I was getting loads and loads of like mental health comments, and it was tough, and it was interesting reading everybody's take on this stuff. And I kept finding myself having that same conversation of, don't feel like you have to be productive. Don't feel like you have to write a book and you are needing this time to learn a language, you know, because everyone was appearing super productive. And it was tough for me. I watched people in my own field producing videos every week. Suddenly they're on CNN as a travel correspondent. And I'm like, it took every part of me to not work for the sake of working and just be like, this is their time. And mine will come when I've reset.
Having that patience.
It was really hard. It was really hard watching people blow up and then just being like, but I'm not inspired, so there's no point just doing it to try to get ahead.
Yeah.
So, if you didn't do anything in 2020,
it's okay.
Don't feel bad.
Yes.
It's okay. Like,
everyone's different.
Some of us needed the break.
Oh, yeah. Especially people that have been working, like, I mean, we had our stay-at-home jobs and, like, bar jobs and stuff. Yeah. People that worked, like, every day, Monday through Friday, and then finally get time to spend with their family. Like, good for you, you know? I mean, we didn't have, you know, kids or family or anything, but it's like everybody has their thing, and I think quarantine was really good for those people. Like, to
I think there's a lot of good and bad, and it's not about like comparing yourself to how other people handled 2020.
Yeah.
You know, I think in our case, a lot of good stuff came out. I also understand that a lot of people found themselves in horrible, hard places this year, terrible. And so I'm trying to like be cautious of everybody's emotions too, because it's like, oh yeah, all this great stuff happened to me.
Exactly.
And then you know, somebody lost their job, lost their home, all these different things. So it's like, it's so weird. It's hard to like be productive and be happy when the world's energy is shifting.
And to be delicate with it, because like we have our opinions, and everybody does, and there's a lot going on this year, and
it's a pretty negative political climate if you haven't learned yet. People are fighting on social media. It's a lot.
Hard.
Yeah,
it's really hard. So keeping a positive face while being respectful,
and knowing when to step back. Knowing when to get off the social media, stop. Like, you know,
we've done that.
I was watching the coronavirus updates, the White House updates every day. This is so bad. That was when I gave myself the chance to drink. So it was like sometimes like at 3:00, you know, the president would come out and talk about it, and sometimes it'd be like 11 a.m. and I'd be like, I guess I'm having a quarantini. Like,
why do I just see her like literally a bottle on her table and a glass, and you're just like waiting for it to come on, and you're just like,
No, I was making these quarantinis, which I know, highly
emergency
emergency vodka and orange juice, and it was so good. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh my God, I thought it was so funny. The first week I was drinking emergency every day. I didn't put vodka in it.
It kills the germs extra. So yeah, I think it's important to give yourself the time to step back and know when to turn off and tune out and stop watching the news and get off social media and go for hikes and do these different things, like to mentally keep ourselves sound, which is good advice just in general. But in this year, I feel like it's been pretty crucial.
Definitely. Yeah. I definitely think it's like stepping back is a big key thing for 2020, and being there, but also, you know, self-care. It's really important.
But I'm excited for the podcast. I feel like we've kind of set ourselves up in our own personal lives in a really good way.
Yeah. I know that you said that you still do some social media for people. She did a lot of the social media for Stumblin Forward, which was amazing because, like, she knows what she's doing with that kind of stuff.
And then there was a period when it stopped because...
But there's shit going on. It's not a... Like, it's like... I think that's when we found our balance where I can help, but... If it wasn't for you starting everything, honestly, like, I would have been like, Instagram? Posts? You know, I'm like, I don't know. So that's the same thing, you know. My handle is still Kristin Herman 91. I know that now. Before I didn't.
You didn't know that for a long time. I was like, how do I tag you? And she's like, I don't know.
I don't know. My name?
No, but I think it's a good balance because you do all the audio editing and some of the video stuff, and you know, you do the stories on social media, and then I do the post, and so I think we have a good balance. I feel like we've had incredible guests. I mean, everybody that's been on, it's been amazing. We have some really good ones coming up this season that so excited about. So hopefully we can just keep doing this and moving forward and bringing you guys amazing content.
Yeah, and honestly, look up the videos that we have on our Facebook page. You can actually watch us interviewing the people if that's more your jam and not listening.
Yeah, they're on YouTube as well. We're just not really like starting a YouTube channel, but they're on Facebook and they're on YouTube.
Yeah. And a little tutorial on how you can actually leave us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts because that
Yeah.
seems like the most popular.
Yeah.
We are on Spotify, we are on Google Podcasts, but it seems like Apple is like the
And that's
the
I
go-to.
didn't actually know this until we started the podcast, that it's the reviews and the 5 stars that make it shown more. Kind of in the same way that like Instagram works, where if you get a bunch of likes, they
Yeah.
start suggesting it to people.
Yeah.
So it really does make a huge difference if you guys leave us a review, because
Yeah.
there's some
Write
great
it
people
in.
coming on and we want to share
Yes.
them. So
And thank you for doing it. Spotify, you can follow us, but there's no like review on it.
yeah.
Apple Podcasts is where you can leave the review.
But
So yeah, that's the kind of like the wrap up on our lives for the
Yeah.
last 2 years, year and a half, something like that.
Yeah.
And thank you again for listening to
yeah,
us.
we're really excited for season 2. So be sure to, subscribe, all that stuff, follow us, and
Yeah, look on Facebook, Instagram, and all that jazz.
All right.
Thanks, Monica.
Yeah. Thanks, Kristin.
Have a great day, guys.
See you guys next time. Bye.